From Al Wasl Dome.
This is the Business Breakfast on Dubai Eye 103.8.
Live at Expo City Dubai, the human-centric city of the future.
And as Rich said there, the man behind the numbers in one of our headlines this morning is indeed sitting next to me. We've got the January report, first report of the new year, coming out from the guys at Property Monitor and Cavendish Maxwell. Jean Jahanki is the COO of Property Monitor. He's also the Director of Market Intelligence and Research for Cavendish Maxwell. In short, he is the numbers guy. Morning, Jean.
Morning.
So, 2024 opening with a few new records.
Yeah, did it open in style? It was a cracker, right? It opened with the highest number of sales ever for a January, and that's after last year being the highest ever January sales. So we had about 11,600 transactions, and what's really been driving this has been the off-plan market. Right? We've seen that significant shift back from when we had COVID, lockdown times come, and things revert and sort of go in the favour of completed existing homes, to off-plan slowly gaining market share about 18 months ago, to now being the clear dominant player in the market at about a 60-40 split.
Okay, we're going to get into the off-plan numbers in just a second, but the one... Well, it depends which side of the transaction you're sitting. The one cloud may be on the horizon, the lowest price appreciation in 18 months. What are you reading into that?
So, to be expected, we saw prices moderate throughout the year. Last year, there was massive growth, 16.4%, decade high in annual growth, and then we saw that at a very moderated pace and start to slow down. What started to keep it slowing down is we've got that completed those existing homes, the villa and townhouses that ran away the fastest and appreciated in price. They've really leveled out or topped out with very, very modest appreciation now, sale after sale. Apartments in the ready space, a little bit more room, but again, it's the off-plan that's driving it. Whereas before we saw some larger month-on-month gains in off-plan, they were driven by projects being launched in, say, very well-established communities with very few launches in the last 5 years. Then you had a launch come probably being 25% higher than the previous sales, so you saw some bumps there. Now you've got new launches happening in those communities where it's about the same price per square foot as previous launches, say 6 or 8 months ago.
Is it a sign of health, that slowing price appreciation?
Slow is good. Slow is steady. Slow is realistic. We don't want to see things run away. When we run away, we go towards that dreaded bubble territory, which you never know when that's going to pop. Are we in one now? Most of the signs say that we're not. We're in a more mature market that's appreciating slowly. We're not seeing a lot of speculation. We're seeing realistic month-on-month price gains, but we are seeing severely record number of transactions month on month. So that one of the biggest questions is, how long can that maintain? How long are we going to have buyers that are going to take that uptake, and then ultimately 3, 4, 5 years down the track, are we going to have the people to fill those properties when they come to market?
What do you think?
I think it's going to be tight. We talked about this last month. Population growth just over 100,000, average household size of 4, right? We've got probably this year 40, 50,000 units coming on, and it just getting more and more after that. We may be in a position where there is going to be excess supply 3 to 4 years from now, delivering into the market. So you're going to see prices definitely come down at that point, should that happen.
What does that mean for those who have bought off plan but aren't planning to hold on to it?
If you bought off plan and aren't planning to hold on to it for when that project completes, you took a risky bet. And that's what it is, right? If you're going to do that, if you're buying for end use, if you're buying to have that as be a rental property over the long term, you mitigate a lot of that risk. But if you're buying more speculative to make quick money during a construction cycle, you may get held with a hot potato.
Okay, let's talk about those off-plan sales, because one of the things that you do say in this report is that you're seeing more diversity in what's being launched now.
Yeah, so what we saw last year, the beginning of last year, was heavily shifted towards the luxury market and the high end. So those upper ends of the market on a volume and a value basis. Throughout sort of the latter part of the year, we saw that shift towards the high and the mid-market. So down from that very top end into that mid-market section, which is good. But we've also seen several more developers come on. So the guys that were launching in that ultra-high price point, they don't launch 30 projects. They launch 2 or 3 of them. In that mass market, in the mid-market, we're seeing more of those developers in Arjan, Alphajan, Marjan, all the Jans, in Dubai Land Residence Complex, and then in sort of Falcon City of Wonders, you're going to start to see a few as well. In that area, it's almost a game of fill in the blanks now.
One of the things that this report also notes is some really big land sales, some of them not a million miles from here. What does that herald?
Yeah, so there have been significant amount of land sales around this area. So we're talking the back of Dubai South along 611, where you saw Emaar recently launch the Oasis. Across from that, on both sides, you've got big plots there where the Arabian Water Canal was originally going to be. You had a couple of huge sales this month in DIP, and DIP2 on the backside of that. These are all prime for master communities to come in. That is what you are going to see. You're going to see more master communities come in along that 611 corridor out towards where we are now in Dubai South, and then eventually you're going to see that swing back around up to Palm Jebel Ali.
How big could these master communities be? Are we talking another sort of Damac Hills? Are we talking another Springs?
We're talking another Ranches, Damac Hills, Oasis. These are big tracts of land, big master communities that are going to come in. You're probably going to see a mix of single-family homes as well as multi-family apartment buildings, but I think what's really lacking, and there's only a few people that can do this, is through master developments, is that single-family market. Villas and townhouses that are drastically undersupplied.
Because if we look at what's largely driven the mortgage market in this report, as well as those off-plan sales, it has been apartments, hasn't it?
It has been apartments, but it's hard for it not to be, given just the makeup of Dubai's property market. It's 75 to 80% at times apartments, and the rest being single-family homes and resi. So that balance, seeing the mortgage market leaning towards apartments, is almost natural. Where we saw the biggest growth in mortgages over the last couple of years was that single-family, primarily the villa market, but now apartments have come back in full swing.
Well, while we've still got you, Jean, we've got a few minutes left with you. The big news of this weekend, the UAE off the grey list. What could it mean for institutional money coming into our property sector?
I mean, that's what we really want to see, is that institutional capital, those pension funds and the like, coming into the market. I unfortunately don't think that removal from the grey list is going to have a huge impact, not in the near term anyway. You have to look at what those funds want to invest in. They want to invest in normally single owner buildings, right? Typically commercial in nature, so office, mall, those retail spaces. What do we have here that you can invest in? Not a lot. Most of those prime buildings are either owned by, they're in GCC-only areas, leasehold areas. They're owned by prominent families that are in a portfolio where there's no intention to remove that from the portfolio. So it's going to be hard, because there might be that being removal from there and taking down those barriers to entry, but what they want to buy just doesn't exist in the market.
So it's not a case of lack of willingness from funds to invest. It's not being able to find the commercial property to invest in.
Look, Dubai has done a great job with transparency and other things to appeal to FDI and to institutional money. But what they're looking for isn't necessarily what's available on the market. So
unlikely to have an impact on price then? I mean, we've been speaking to Ben Barg, to others, about what's happening in the office space at the moment in terms of prices.
Yeah. Not going to have much of an impact unless we see any of those, and they don't typically do this, get into the development space and bring more product to market, but that's not what they do.
And joining us this morning to talk through those January numbers and that slowdown in price appreciation, the slowest rate of appreciation in January in a year and a half, Shanta Hinke, the COO of Property Monitor and the Director of Market Intelligence and Research for Cavendish Maxwell. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.